And welcome back, rugby fans, to Rugby411. As always, I'm your host. My name is Joshua Shibata, and this is the Week 6 Power Rankings for the 2025 MLR season. Man, it is officially, we are 1/3 of the way done with the season, and as I mentioned last week, this season's going by really, really fast, in my opinion. So I am super excited of what's coming up, but I'm also a little sad because, yeah, we're almost done with the season. It's crazy how this works out. It's been an exciting week of Major League Rugby. I'll be honest with you, even though there were some really, really great games, a heartbreaker of a loss, some interesting developments. I wouldn't say too many upsets. So because of that, not a lot of movement in this week's Power Rankings. Again, if you haven't watched my Power Ranking videos before, it's all about what you do on the pitch, who you play against, who you lose against, where you play, how you lose. All those things factor in. It's not about win-loss records, who's on top in the conference standings. So it's really about what you have been doing lately on the pitch. So teams that are on losing streaks, you'll start to see sliding down despite what they did earlier in the season. And teams that are on a hot streak will work their way up through the rankings. Now, as I mentioned before, because teams that are supposed to be winning did win against teams that are lower ranked, not a lot of movement in the power rankings, but for the first time this season at least, and probably the first time in maybe the history of my power rankings, a couple of teams that won ended up sliding down a spot. And it might be a little controversial, but I feel it is warranted. And I'll explain as we go. So, first of all, we got to start off with such a heartbreaking loss at the number 11 spot is Anthem Rugby, yet to still find their first win in franchise history. But man, did they come close, losing to a very, very tough Houston SaberCats team, 45-46. And I mean, this was a heartbreaker of a game, a great game to watch if you love tries. Because they were scoring tries by the dozen. Defense kind of did not factor into this game. But man, I feel bad for the Anthem fan base because they are always rowdy and excited over an anthem. It's really cool if you ever watch the game. They have a dude that's dressed up in a full-blown skeleton costume. He's supposed to be, I believe, like the Reaper. And I'm sure he is just waiting for that first soul to claim. It just wasn't meant to be. Anthem was ahead for a good majority of this game. And again, against not a pushover team, against a very game Houston team. But man, let's go over this. Again, tries by the handful here. In the first half alone, there were 7 tries scored. And again, Houston was up, but Anthem was fighting right back. 29-14 at the half. A couple of yellow cards reared their ugly heads. Again, eventually I'm going to have to bring back my yellow card counter because this season has had a huge amount of cards. And we're only in week 7 of the season. This is week 6. But man, there has been a lot of cards. I thought originally it might have been just because the season just started. Players are getting used to playing. Officials getting used to figuring out how to call rules. But man, no, it is still continuing into week 6, at the 1/3 mark of the season. We still been getting a lot of yellow cards. In the second half, Cliven Lobster, a phenomenal Namibian player, a veteran player for the Anthem Rugby team, scores this beautiful chip kick to himself try. It was beautiful. And then the reigning Major League Rugby Rookie of the Year, Junior Nafa, scored a try to follow that. Houston, of course, still fighting back and forth in this game. It comes down to 2 minutes left in the game. Anthem is able to score a try to take back the lead 45-43, mind you. Unfortunately, literally the very next play, Anthem Rugby gets called for an obstruction penalty in their territory. Houston takes over. Of course, who's going to step up to the kick? Very clutch. Davy Kutse kicks the potential winning penalty kick, takes the lead by 1. We are at 46-45. Anthem, luckily enough, because time ran out. Time was off at that point. Time was out in regulation. But the match official said, no, we still have time to play one more play. Anthem was able to get the ball back, but they ended up losing the ball on the turnover. Houston succeeds to walk out of Carolina with the win, 46-45. Honestly, guys, I was really debating about moving Anthem up a spot because, man, I mean, again, it's not against an easy team. Houston is one of the best teams in the league right now, and Anthem really went toe-to-toe. 14 tries scored. Like, nobody was playing defense in this game. 7 tries scored by Houston, but 7 tries also scored by Anthem. And it was just a penalty kick that made the difference. So I really wanted to move Anthem up, but I couldn't. They still stayed there. They're still looking for their first win. And I know everyone's wondering, when is that first win coming? Because unfortunately, the next game they're playing against, they're going over to Seattle, Starfire Stadium, to take on, albeit a struggling Seattle team. I have already, spoiler for you guys, I don't believe Anthem will win that game. But when is their first win? The very next game, they are hosting NOLA. Right now, NOLA is on a 4-game losing streak. After losing, spoiler again, they lost to RFCLA. They're on a 4-game losing streak. I feel Anthem will get their first win against NOLA. I'm gonna call it right now. I don't think I'll change that. Now, what's coming up after that? They do have a match against Miami. Miami is not looking as hot as they were at the beginning of the season. And they also have a game. And, I mean, this is going to be the far-fetched one. They also have a game at Anthem hosting the New England Free Jacks, who are not looking great either. That's 3 right there, maybe. That 4th one, they finish up the season with all Western opponents, RFCLA, Houston, Utah. They do have a match with Seattle at Anthem. But maybe 4, because I predicted 4 from the start, might be now a stretch, but definitely 2 for sure. Definitely 2 for sure. Maybe 3. We'll see how New England looks at it, but Anthem will win a game. Mark my word, Anthem is winning a game this season. They've come too close to stop. I kind of compare this to when the Dallas Shackles were playing. Granted, the Dallas Shackles didn't win a game in their first season. They came very close, and Anthem didn't win a game in their first season, but Dallas did win, I believe, 2 games that following year. I think Anthem is on track to follow and win 2 that season. But again, heartbreaker for Anthem. You gotta feel for them. Now, I mentioned them already. Miami, your number 10 team. They lost, not nearly a close game, but they lost to San Diego, who obviously is the best team in the league right now. I might as well put this up there. Spoiler already. San Diego is your number 1 team. The only team in the league undefeated. They dominated Miami, plain and simple. Miami did not come to play in this game. First half, San Diego already scores 3 tries. Miami is able to score a try right before the half, making it 21-5. But that's pretty much it. Miami did not look good in this game at all. They were able to score a try after San Diego got 2 yellow cards. So, obviously Miami would score on that. But then San Diego even scored, after that with 2 men down, which goes to show you how good San Diego is. Miami is struggling so far this season. This would be their 4th loss of the year. They are sitting at that number 10 position. Number 9, another team that's been struggling quite a bit is your two-time MLR champions, the Seattle Seawolves. They are sitting still at the number 9 spot, losing to Utah 27-30. Now, this game was close, but honestly, Seattle had many, many opportunities to win this game. Really, Seattle kind of beat themselves. There are a lot of turnovers. There are a lot of missed opportunities in this game. Utah's up at the half, 14-6. But with the halftime stats, in the first half, Seattle had possession of the ball 76% of the time, and were only able to score one try. There's just a lot of turnovers, a lot of lost balls. Seattle, though, was able to get back in the game. Rickard Hadding, of course, scores a try, his 44th try of the season. Still second highest in the history of Major League Rugby. Malachi Isdale, I don't know why he isn't starting, but he was able to come off of the bench, score another try. Phenomenal player. That allowed Seattle to actually get within 3. So they were down 14-6 at the half. They were able to get within 3, 30-27 as we get into the closing minutes. But at the last couple of minutes, Seattle had multiple turnovers. I think they had 2 turnovers, 2 knock-ons. They just 2 lineouts that were lost. I mean, their set pieces were horrible this game. I'm sure Alan Clark, the head coach of Seattle, is just ripping his hair out. This is not the Seattle that even last season that was struggling in the first half. This does not look like a well-oiled Seattle machine. I've been telling people not to panic yet. I still believe this because, again, Seattle does struggle the first half, but, man, they do not look. They really don't look good. And as I mentioned before, they will be playing Anthem this coming weekend. Now, if they lose Anthem, that's when I would say hit the panic button, smash the glass, let's pull the lever. We are in panic mode. But right now, Seattle still sitting at number 9. Oddly enough, they are in last place in the Western Conference, fighting for that playoff spot. Remember, with the way that it works for the playoffs, in the Western Conference, 4 teams make the playoffs. There's only 5. So Seattle right now is that odd team out. And if they don't turn it around, the record is 1-4 right now. If they don't turn it around, they may actually miss the playoffs this season. But like I said, Seattle has had the habit of coming back at the second half of the season looking like a completely different team. We'll see if that happens this time. Number 8, another team that also has been struggling is the NOLA Gold, who sits at number 8, losing in the gold mine to RFCLA. It was a really, really good game for RFCLA. Not such a great game for NOLA. At the half, LA was up 24-12. Unfortunately, LA still, I'll talk about this when we talk about LA, still has some penalty issues. They got a yellow card, which allowed, of course, NOLA to score. But LA's defense really came out to play, kept the game after Andrew Coe scored to 31-19 going into the final minutes of the game. It's been, again, I'll mention this when I talk about LA. NOLA was able to score a last-minute try to make the score a little bit more negotiable or a little bit more close. That allowed NOLA to get that double bonus point because they lost within 7. But it was really a pretty dominant performance by LA. This is the 4th game in a row that NOLA has lost. They won their very first game of the season and hasn't won since. They have really been struggling, and they sit at the number 8 position. The only reason why I don't have them going any lower is because these 3 teams have also been struggling as well. Another team that's been struggling, your reigning defending two-time MLR champions, the New England Free Jacks. They maybe not surprisingly, they faced against bitter rivals Old Glory DC, and like I mentioned before, Old Glory always plays New England tough. I predicted Old Glory to win this one. I'm surprised that I originally predicted New England to win. I'm very happy I switched my decision and Old Glory got the win because they ended up pulling off the win 14-28. Yeah, this was another one very similar to the Miami-San Diego game. Though the first half, it was very competitive. It was actually tied. I'm sorry, not tied, but it was only 17-7 going into the half with Old Glory up. But then by the second half, it was pretty much all Old Glory. And, end up score being 28-14. Again, New England, just like Seattle, for whatever reason, has been really struggling this season. They are now 2-3. It's very rarely to see New England with a losing record. Of course, in this game, Jason Patros unfortunately wasn't able to suit up. He suffered an injury the prior game. But man, this is another one that's very shocking where New England is not looking like the dominant force that, yours truly and many others thought that they would be going into the season. We'll see again if they can turn things around as the season progresses. Because technically, it's only week 7 that we're going into. Granted, you have 2/3 of you have 1/3 of the season done. If we're going to make a change, just like with Seattle, we got to start seeing that coming now. Another game where things were kind of interesting. Number 6. Actually, let's go this. So, as I mentioned before, and we'll also do a little bit of spoiler, Chicago, your number 2 team, was on a bye. So, they're not going to move up or down because that's my policy. Now, the 4 remaining teams. 2 teams, actually, all 4 teams won. Okay? So, all these 4 teams lost. 4 teams won. Now, with that being said, for the first time, I think ever, usually my policy is if you win, you definitely have no reason to be going down. Very rarely will I have a team, if anything, move down. Maybe I'll have a team that wins, they don't go anywhere. But these next 4 teams, 2 of them had some very impressive wins, and 2 of them not so impressive wins. So, with that being said, as much as Utah had moments that they looked pretty good against Seattle, I feel in this game, Seattle really beat themselves. No disrespect to Utah. Utah, of course, scored the tries that they needed to score to win the game, 30-27. But man, Seattle had so many turnovers, so many lineout losses. It really felt that Seattle beat themselves. And as I mentioned before, LA beat NOLA pretty dominantly, 14-20, 28-14. I decided to have Utah, which started number 5, slide down a spot to number 6, and LA go up a spot to number 5. Now, granted, I did mention LA wasn't perfect in their game. They had another yellow card. They did let NOLA score a try at the very last minute where game was pretty much put away, but that did allow NOLA to get a second bonus point, which, these bonus points, if you give it to opponents, may come back to bite you in the end when we get to our final standings and playoff picture. So, wasn't a perfect game for LA, but man, the Utah game looked a lot closer than it should have been, and there are moments where Utah should have lost that game. With that being said, though, I want to shout out to the 2 kickers for the team, Joe Hodgson and D'Angelo Luila. Man, first of all, Joe Hodgson has had a phenomenal season. For a while, Joe Hodgson probably maybe the best player on the Utah squad. Last season, maybe took a step back. This season definitely has found that rhythm again. He had 12 points in this game. He scored 2 tries and was 1 for 1 off of the tee. The only reason why he only had to kick once off the tee is because of new member of the Utah Warriors, D'Angelo Luila. Man, this guy is phenomenal. He can do everything. He likes to score tries. He likes to kick the ball to himself. He kicks off the tee. I think he's only missed. Gonna check real quick. D'Angelo Luila has missed. He's missed 3 kicks off of the tee. He's 18 for 21, which is still pretty phenomenal when you talk about kickers. And he has just been an amazing addition to the team. Right now, one of my shortlist members on the Rookie of the Year for Major League Rugby. He has been phenomenal. 12 points in this game. 5 for 5. A perfect 5 for 5 off of the tee. I forgot to mention Eddie Fouché also did a really good job for Seattle. 4 for 4 off the tee. He's been struggling at the very beginning, but lately he's been the only bright point for Seattle. But yeah, controversial it might be. I dropped Utah back from LA because I really didn't feel very impressed with their loss. Now, this next one may not be so controversial because, yeah, for sure, did not look very impressive. You have Old Glory, who beat your two-time reigning defending MLR champions, the New England Free Jacks, who are usually always pretty tough. And then you have Houston, who barely beats 0-4 Anthem Carolina by 1 point. Sorry, Houston. I had to slide you down from the 3 spot to number 4, and Old Glory up to number 3. So for the first time, I feel since I did bet Power Rankings, 2 teams slid, even though they won, just because I did not feel very impressed with their performances. So that's how I'm gonna call it this one. So let me know how you feel about these power rankings. Again, San Diego looking like the world beaters. Chicago holding on to that number 2 spot just by default as a bye. But man, Old Glory looking pretty solid so far this season. Houston sliding just because they had a scare against Anthem. But yeah, and then man, these Seattle especially is a really odd one, and New England sliding down the rankings as well. Honestly, especially if you think of the last 2 seasons, I think this might be the lowest that New England has been ranked on my power rankings since 2 years ago. So that says a lot about this New England squad. Now, with that being said, let's go over some of your favorite parts. Our SuperBru Pick Em results. Bang. And congratulations to Nathan. Nathan, I don't think you've ever won a golden cap before with us, so congratulations to you. If you have, please forgive me, but at least this is your first time winning this season. Out of possible 14.5 points, he scored 9. Coming in right behind him is John from Rugby Morning, 8.5, who's had a phenomenal season so far with his pickups. Just missed out on the golden cap by 0.5 points. Those two, Nathan and Rugby Morning, the only 2 players who were able to get every team right this week. And then right behind them, tied for 3rd, is a 3-way between KDC, USA League and Union Fan. Great job, Coop. And yours truly, Dogmy. First time I've ranked in the top 5 this season. Very happy with those results. Unfortunately, Theo God gets the wooden spoon this week. And may I mention that, unfortunately, 2 people did not put in picks. Frisco! After getting a golden cap, come on, man. And then, unfortunately, Melvin Rocker. I know, Melvin, it's hard when you come into the season a little bit late. But don't give up, man. Don't give up. Because I'll show you why when we look at the overall rankings. As you see, CrossFox is still in number 1 with 32 points. But man, Rugby Morning coming in very close. Jumped up 2 spots to 2nd. Only behind CrossFox by 1.5 points. So every point matters. And then, of course, the big one, Nathan, jumps up 10 spots just by winning the golden cap once. Jumps up 10 spots to number 3 with 28. So just to go show you, Melvin, right now with the way the season's starting, win just 1 golden cap, you're going to bounce so high up. So that's why don't give up. Don't give up. If you don't make any picks, for sure, you're not going to get a golden cap. The saying is, you're definitely going to miss at the pitches you don't swing at. So just swing away. And then our very first SuperBru Pick Em champion, All J Long, is dropped 2 spots to number 4, 26.33 points. And Tex moves up to number 5 with 26 points, moving up 1 spot. Of course, we do got to see the bottom 5. And unfortunately, John Hawkins sitting at the number 24 spot still with 18.5 points. Right behind him at 18 points, Lady Julia, who slid down 2 spots. Theo God, unfortunately, sitting at the 26th spot. And GMV Rugby sitting at the 27th spot. Actually, yes, 27th spot. And then Melvin Rocker still in last place. But again, Melvin, don't give up. Also, don't give up because I got to mention, too, Frisco Flang last week had the number 3 spot. Because he didn't put any picks, dropped down to 14. So again, winning a golden cap boosts you up. Making no picks at all really drops you down. So basically, I'm trying to tell all my SuperBru Pick'em players, keep playing, because you never know. If you're going to strike the gold cap, you can instantly get to the top of the rankings. So, as always, thank you very much for checking out my videos. Again, let me know in the comments below if you agree with this, if somebody should have moved. Do you think I should have dropped Utah? I think everyone might agree with me dropping Houston down because they barely won against Anthem. But maybe the Utah move down might be a little controversial. We'll see. But, yeah. As always, thank you very much for checking out my videos, and I'll see you on the pitch.